A warm welcome back to a bit of an emergency update surrounding Boeing, as they've found fresh, new quality problems that will impact the MAX plane and likely lead to short to medium term delivery delays. Boeing is now in hot water once more. It says it'll be forced to complete work on more than 50 undelivered MAX jets. A new problem has emerged following the identification of two misdrilled holes on some aircraft fuselages by Spirit AeroSystems. You may recall that name, but if you're new to the industry, well, they're a key supplier of Boeing planes and are certainly under fire. Boeing says that an employee at Spirit alerted management and immediate action was undertaken to investigate the problem and inform other key companies to ensure that a fix was formulated. Boeing says the most recent finding will not directly impact the immediate safety of 737 jets that have already been delivered and are in daily operation, but a rework will be required on some undelivered aircraft types. Finding flaws in the fuselage of the aircraft is yet another issue that the plane maker couldn't afford to happen for its image and more. And while being identified by Spirit AeroSystems, unfortunately Spirit works closely with Boeing, and Boeing will feel these pressures significantly. However, some analysts argue that Spirit AeroSystems' identification of an issue actually highlights that further oversight into production practices is working, and that appropriate action can be taken because they reviewed the processes. While on the other side, you'll have analysts that believe these things shouldn't be happening for well-established suppliers. The Federal Aviation Administration and several leading customers of Boeing have launched thorough investigations in the recent weeks into the plane maker and also its suppliers over production practices. This thorough review is a key means to understand better why so many quality escapes have occurred unnoticed until, say, an incident is set to occur, and how to stop this from happening at any cost in the future. While impacting Boeing's reputation and obviously that of Spirit AeroSystems from a flying public's perspective, such quality problems are also increasing customers' frustrations. United Airlines has said that the Alaska Airlines door blowout, which occurred at the top of the year and really started this entire thing we're seeing take place, is the straw that broke the camel's back. You could argue that this analogy is probably bang on. Following persistent 737-10 certification delays, United Airlines will make a fleet plan without this aircraft type. These reports identifying Scott Kirby, the United CEO's stance, also went on to say that the major US airline was already in early tentative conversations with Airbus over potentially acquiring further A321neo family jets. These would be acquired with a view to mitigate some of the losses felt on the 737-10 delays. But as you may recall, and as I've also just recently covered on my second channel, Globetrotting, which if you have never heard of it, I do aviation analysis over there, and you're more than welcome to subscribe. One of the biggest struggles that Airbus faces is there's so much demand and such a lack of trust in the Boeing product that they can't really pounce on this because their aircraft lines are sold out for so many years. They can't provide the aircraft when these customers need them unless they do massive reworks to additional orders and company practices. While I focused on United, Alaska says the door blowout incident should have never happened, but they very publicly committed to sticking with Boeing for their mainline fleet. You may recall this is a stance that comes only months after they retired their brand new Airbus aircraft that were taken on through a Virgin America merger, as the company wanted to just stick with Boeing. Despite a lot of focus again resting on the latest quality problem, which is totally understandable, airlines are also making steady steps in ungrounding their 737-9 jets that were parked following the Emergency Airworthiness Directive issued by the FAA. As part of the ungrounding process, the FAA has said that Alaska Airlines and United Airlines have inspected and returned 94% of their fleet to service. The ungrounding was officially lifted on January 24th, but it doesn't actually mean automatically that all aircraft can return to service. What it does mean is that for the airlines that had these planes grounded, well, they were able to formally begin the corrective inspections to get these planes airplanes fit, and then returning them to flying with customers on board once they were approved, and obviously if nothing further was found. At the height of the grounding, Alaska Airlines was being forced to cancel up to 150 flights per day, with the 737-9 accounting for 20% of their active fleet. They are the second largest operator of this variant, but when you compare the 737-9 to their overall fleet, it really does become evident just how much they rely on this. So if you're grounding all of those aircraft, then you're going to see implications not just on their flying, but also their finances, with them expected to lose around $150 million, although that is money Alaska Airlines says that they will try and charge Boeing and suppliers, so they're not putting that out of their own pocket. The 737-9, meanwhile, at United Airlines represents around 8% of the fleet, so obviously we're looking at a drastic reduction, but the difference between Alaska and United is staggering, with United having hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, close to 1,000 planes. At the same time, United does expect to see a financial hit for the grounding, but in most cases, if we're taking a look at flight cancellations, the airline was fortunate that it had other aircraft in its fleet to cover for some of the lost capacity. As part of the most recent identified problems, the expectation is that deliveries on a sum of around 50 aircraft will occur. The latest possible delay that is set to impact customers also comes following the FAA's halt of any plans Boeing had to increase production of its MAX series. Boeing did agree, though, that increasing production would be rather inappropriate, as investigations continue into its practices. However, because of this inability to increase production rates on the type to a level that it deems adequate to deal with the demand and backlog, customers will likely experience delays to their aircraft deliveries in a different way to, say, a problem emerging. Delays to short-term aircraft deliveries from the MAX series are the newest focus, and while I also take a look at production increases being halted and the therefore medium to long-term impacts that we felt at customers, we also have to take into account that Boeing still has 2 variants yet to be certified, and additionally, there's no firm timeline for when these planes will eventually enter service. This is due to persistent quality troubles hurting the plane maker and critical suppliers, and seeing focus dramatically shift. Southwest, for example, has said it's willing to wait until 2027 for the 737-7 to be certified, but the thing is, it is also able to adjust aircraft orders and switch, say, some of the Dash 7s to already certified MAX types. While they do want the Dash 7, it gives them a bit of flexibility. Ryanair, meanwhile, has said that while delays are frustrating, they'll purchase any cancelled 737-10 order from US customers if the price is right. They see these planes as the best on the market, but are simply waiting for them to finally enter service, with the risk of that slipping to 2026. That's going to conclude today's a bit of an emergency update on what's been happening at Boeing. It does truly feel like it's a never-ending saga, and I've got to be completely honest, it's frustrating to have to cover. I don't like seeing this happen, and I'm sure you don't either. I think all we can hope for is that it eventually dies down and we move forward in a more positive manner, with Boeing actually recovering. I think I said this in another video, but a better Boeing is a better aviation industry. Having healthy competition between Airbus and Boeing is absolutely fantastic, but when one aircraft manufacturer, and such an important one such as Boeing, seems to be plagued by problems, it is very hard to have a healthy aviation landscape. If you have any thoughts, which I'm sure you no doubt will, feel free to drop them down below in the comments. Thanks a lot for your support here on the channel. Please do take care, do also be safe, and I'll see you same time tomorrow at the same place for a proper aviation news recap.
And we'll fly.